The silence in a bedroom doesn't begin when love runs out. It begins when you refuse to clean up your own mind. Hello, I'm your companion today, and I want to ask you something directly. Do you ever feel lonely inside your own home? Not lonely because there's no one around, but lonely because the person lying next to you is no longer truly there. He's still breathing, still eating, still going to work, but the light in his eyes went out somewhere along the way without you even noticing. And you no longer know what you want anymore. I understand that feeling. It doesn't hurt like a sharp wound. It smolders like hot coals buried under ash. You can't cry out loud because there's no clear reason to. You just know that something is slowly dying in this room. The husband feels completely drained every single day. Coming home feels like stepping into a minefield. He never knows what he's going to trip over today. A cold look, a passive-aggressive comment, or 3 days of silence with no explanation at all. The wife is trapped inside a tangled mess of emotions she can't even name. She doesn't want to be this way either. She's exhausted by herself, but she doesn't know how to get out. Everything just keeps going in circles, over and over again. The bedroom has gone cold, like a cave in the middle of winter. Two people lying side by side, but as distant as two continents. There's no more reaching for each other out of instinct. No more natural moments that pull them close. All of that has been replaced by a kind of polite, chilling distance. And do you know what the most painful part is? Both of them still love each other. They just can't find their way back to one another anymore. Before we go any deeper, I need to say something important. This video is not for relationships that involve violence. It does not apply where there is abuse or toxic control. Those situations require professional intervention immediately. We are talking about ordinary couples who are simply stuck, people who still love each other but can no longer find each other. Now, let me be honest with you, honest in a way that few people are willing to be, not to judge you, but because I believe you are strong enough to hear the truth. Most men, when they get married, have no idea what's coming. They marry a wonderful, gentle, radiant woman. Then one day, the romantic mask slips off, and in its place is an emotional storm with no map to navigate it. Drama spiraling into more drama like water circling a drain. No logic, no stopping point, no way out. And that man starts to pull away, not because he stopped loving her, but because he no longer feels safe. Now I'm going to say something that many women won't want to hear, but I believe the truth is far kinder than silence. Many women have never once spent 20 minutes truly examining themselves. And I don't mean 20 minutes a day or a week. I mean 20 minutes across their entire lives. No one ever taught them how to look inward. Society taught them to feel, but not to understand their emotions. It taught them to express, but not to take responsibility for what they express. And so, the inner world of many people looks like an abandoned house, filled with garbage that has been piling up for decades with no one ever cleaning it out. Stress from childhood, wounds that never healed, beliefs that were never true, assumptions that were never questioned. All of it stacking up, day after day, and they give that pile of chaos a very beautiful name. They call it emotions. Society teaches that emotions are the ultimate authority and no one is allowed to challenge them. That emotions are always right and must be respected without question. But no one ever tells you this. Emotions are signals, not absolute truth. And when you let your emotions drive every single aspect of your life, you are essentially letting a 6-year-old steer a semi-truck. When the husband tries to offer his perspective, he's treated like an attacker. When he goes quiet, he's treated as indifferent. When he pulls back, he's treated as unloving. No response is ever right. There is no way out. And gradually, he stops trying altogether. That is when the real silence begins. Not silence born from hatred, but silence born from complete exhaustion. Listen closely to what I'm about to say, because this is not just my personal opinion. It is grounded in science. And science doesn't lie to you. There is a concept in psychology called the stress generation model. Research from the University of California, Los Angeles, has revealed a very uncomfortable truth. People with psychological instability don't just react to stress. They actually generate stress in their own lives. Not intentionally, but unconsciously. They interpret everything through a lens of anxiety and insecurity. And that very interpretation turns ordinary situations into battlefields. The husband says something completely innocent. The wife hears criticism. The husband comes home late because of traffic. The wife hears disrespect. The husband doesn't send a text. The wife hears indifference. She is not a bad person. She doesn't want to make her husband miserable. It's that her brain has been programmed this way for far too long, and no one ever showed her how to turn that program off. When stress spikes, cortisol floods the bloodstream, and cortisol is the mortal enemy of dopamine. Dopamine is the fuel behind desire and excitement. You cannot feel longing when your body is locked in fight or flight mode. You simply cannot. Biology does not allow it. So when you say, "I don't feel anything for my husband anymore," that is not necessarily a loss of love. That is your body shutting down from chronic stress. Your system has switched off everything that doesn't serve immediate survival. But the story doesn't end there. There is a 13-year study conducted by the University of California, Berkeley. Researchers followed hundreds of married couples across multiple decades, and they discovered something that I think you need to hear very carefully. The key to lasting happiness in marriage comes down to a single skill, not good communication, not financial stability, but the ability to de-escalate negative emotions. In psychology, this is called downregulation. It is the ability, when a storm rises up inside of you, to recognize it, to step outside that whirlwind and consciously choose how you respond. If the wife does not have this ability, both partners will fall into what scientists call a primal survival state. In that state, there are only three options available: attack, defend, or completely withdraw. There is no room for connection. There is no room for intimacy. All that remains is the exhausted, hollow experience of coexisting with someone. When the husband constantly sees his wife in a state of chaos, his thought isn't, "She needs me right now." His brain thinks, "This place is not safe," and he withdraws. Not out of coldness, but because it is the most natural survival response a human being has. That terrifying silence then begins to fill the entire room. Now, here is the thing I want to flip around and show you clearly. Most people who come to me think the same thing. They think, all we need is one romantic getaway and we'll be fine. A special dinner, a few candles, some flowers, and everything will naturally go back to the way it was. But I have to be honest with you. Candles and flowers cannot warm a room that has gone frozen with resentment. No dinner tastes good when two people sitting at the table can't speak honestly with each other. You don't lack romance. You lack clarity of mind. You call it emotions. But sometimes it is simply avoidance, wearing a very sophisticated disguise. Avoiding an honest look at your own distorted beliefs. Avoiding taking responsibility for reality, not just for feelings. Physical intimacy is not the starting point of a marriage. It is the result of a stable inner order. When the mind is cleared, when safety is re-established, when you are no longer a threat to each other, everything will naturally return, as gently as light slipping through a crack in the door. So what do we do now? I don't want to send you away with nothing but a heavy pile of information. I want to give you something you can actually do tonight. Here is a 4-step plan that I have seen transform many marriages. Step 1. Spend 20 minutes clearing out your mind. Not the idealized version of meditation you see on social media, but sitting down with a piece of paper and one honest question. That question is this: what belief am I holding about this marriage that might be wrong? Don't blame your husband or your wife or your circumstances. Look straight into the clutter inside your own thinking. What beliefs are you clinging to that have never actually been verified? That a man should always understand what you mean without you having to say it. That if he truly loves you, he should just know that you don't need to change and only the other person does? How much is it costing your marriage to hold on to those beliefs? Step 2. Learn how to de-escalate emotional storms. This is a skill, not an innate personality trait. You can learn it if you choose to. When conflict begins to escalate, be the one who proactively says a single sentence. That sentence could be, "I need 5 minutes to calm down and then we can continue." Not storming off in anger, but consciously pausing, so you don't say something you can never take back. The ability to restore emotional balance is a survival skill for any married couple. Whoever practices it is actively protecting their marriage. Step 3. Communicate in a way that builds, not destroys. Most of us communicate when we are flooded with emotion. And when we're flooded, we're not communicating, we're attacking. There is a massive difference between saying, "I feel lonely when you don't check in on me," and saying, "You never care about me at all." One sentence opens a door, the other slams it shut and locks it. Practice speaking about your own needs, not about the other person's faults. When you become less chaotic, your partner will become less withdrawn. He or she will feel safe enough to come closer again. Step 4. Rebuild safety through non-sexual physical connection. This is something many people skip because they're in a rush to see results. But you cannot jump straight from a deep freeze into a blazing fire. You need to warm things up gradually. Start with small, genuinely sincere gestures, holding hands while watching television together. A long wordless hug in the morning before the day begins. A message in the middle of the day simply to say, "I was thinking of you." No drama attached, no conditions attached. Just pure, quiet warmth. Small but real. Intimacy cannot grow in dry, resentment-hardened soil. It only takes root in the ground of trust and safety. Start watering that ground first. Before we close, I want to leave you with one final thought. A marriage is not a place where you dump your emotional garbage and expect no one to clean it up. Your partner is not a trash can shaped like a human being. Marriage is a place where two souls clean house together so that light can come in. Two people who are equally responsible for the space they share. I know that sounds like a heavy idea, but it is actually the most beautiful one, because it means you have power. You are not a victim of your circumstances or of the other person. You can begin to change things today. You don't have to wait for the other person to go first. You don't have to wait for perfect conditions. All it takes is 20 minutes, a piece of paper, and the courage to truly look inside. If you see yourself in today's story, leave a comment. Even just one word is enough. We'll work through every knot together. No judgment, no lecturing, just people trying to love each other better. Love needs warmth in order to survive, but marriage needs clarity in order to grow. Clear out your mind so your heart has room to breathe. Create safety so your partner feels safe enough to come back to you. And remember, real change doesn't begin on a romantic wedding night. It begins the moment you decide to look honestly at yourself. Take care of yourself and start your 20 minutes right now.